All right, it's top of the hour. Let's bring you the news update. The All Progressives Congress in Nasarawa State has won all their 13 local government areas in the just concluded local government election.
Well, Chairman of the State Independent Electoral Commission, Henry Amaku, made the declaration on Sunday in Lafia, that's the state's capital. He declared that the party also won the entire 147 wards of the state in the councillorship election. And as Nigeria prepares to celebrate another Democracy Day, a call has gone to all politicians to stop making inflammatory statements that will put our democratic rule in danger. Absolutely. Now, former Chief of the General Staff, Oladipo Diaz, spoke at a church in Lagos on the need to put an end to nepotism. He cautioned politicians not to use religion as a tool to divide Nigerians, but as an instrument for good governance. On May the 29th, Nigeria will be celebrating 19 years of uninterrupted democratic rule. Nigeria's Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for fortifying the force to withstand security challenges. Well, he made this known in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, where he was received by Commander of the Air Force Base Yola, that's Air Commodore Anthony Ndache, and the state's Deputy Governor Martin Babale. The Air Chief says the latest fighter jets given to his men would enhance success for the operation of the air components of Operation Lafia Dole. We would like to warn that our next story contains flash photography. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has described Nigerian children as special. He says the future of Nigeria belongs to them and they have what it takes to give the country a great future. That's correct. He also said this while addressing the State House correspondents after a special service to observe Children's Day at the Aso Villa Chapel in Abuja. Shubaja noted that watching the drama and listening to the music rendered by children at the service showed that there was so much innovation and energy in them. Outside Nigeria, at least one United States newspaper is reporting that a group of American officials crossed into North Korea on Sunday to hold talks on preparations for a possible summit. Well, this comes as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un reaffirmed his commitment to meet U.S. President Donald Trump, while Trump announced he is still looking at the June 12th summit. President Trump had earlier tweeted that Washington was having very productive talks with Pyongyang and that the summit was likely to happen as scheduled. Now, thousands have lost their lives since the insurgent group Boko Haram began its reign of terror in Nigeria's northeast. A United Nations report says that 3,900 children were killed, 7,300 of them maimed in 3 years during attacks on communities and confrontations with security forces by Boko Haram insurgents. Boko Haram has committed grave atrocities in that region. Aside from lives being lost, houses, schools and businesses have all been destroyed by the bloodthirsty group. Many towns have become ghost towns as those who have so far survived have fled for safety. The death toll of children in the conflict covers a period of January 2013 and December 2016, indicating that even more lives have been lost since then. But the group has devised ways of inflicting harm on children. They recruit, abduct, kill, and sometimes send these children on suicide missions. Suicide attacks were the second leading cause of casualties within the period under the review and accounts for over 1,000 child deaths and 2,100 injuries. And that is what we'll be looking at right now. We have in the studio a child rights activist and executive director of See Hope, Betty Abba. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you.
And with the figure being batted around right now that about 3,900 children have been lost to Boko Haram insurgents within just 3 years. How do you feel about that?
I think it's really heartbreaking. It's outrageous because children naturally are the weakest link in society. And children are the ones that we are supposed to protect, both as a government and at individual levels. So if children are bearing the greatest brunt of this insurgency, if children are dying in droves, then certainly there's a problem with that link. there's something that's supposed to be done by government that's not been done. Even as a society, maybe we are not too protective of these children. And it's really, really sad that as a society, we are desensitized. There's no sense of outrage. This will cause a lot of outrage anywhere in the world, because these are helpless children whose only fault is being born within a region where that is not really child-friendly, where the government perhaps does not put the protection of children at its priority. So it's saddening, it's outrageous, and it should really call for sober reflection, if for nothing else. Because these children are so innocent. They have no part to play in all of this, and yet they are the victims. And that also includes unborn children. You've heard about herdsmen entering communities, killing pregnant women, and raping the pregnant women, ripping them open and bringing out the unborn children. I mean, this is so outrageous.
Well, you know, the United Nations, in the wake of the Children's Day celebration, of course, before now, it's only when it's time to celebrate the children that we remember how they are to be protected, you know, and all of that. But the United Nations before now had placed that responsibility. Even nature, you know, places that responsibility as well on parents, nations, and all of that to protect the children. But we haven't done enough to protect these children from the statistics that we have we?
We have not. And I think the main buck rests on the table of the government, because it's a government that's vested with the responsibility of protecting lives, first of all. As parents, as individuals, we may not have the resources, we may not have the arms to protect against insurgents. Even, in fact, when there's an attack on a community, the parents are themselves running for their dear lives. So, and I believe that the government hasn't done enough. You see, just take Benue, for instance. There was a major attack on communities in Benue earlier in the year. And the head of the Fulani herdsmen came out and said they were responsible. Naturally, you would expect that he should have been arrested.
Initially.
Called to book. But he's, today as we speak, a free man roaming around. Nothing happens. So if there are no consequences to the people that attack children, if there are no consequences for the people that unleash violence on children, directly or indirectly, then you can be sure that the violence will continue. When you have a rape suspect or a rapist who has been confirmed, and the person is set free because he has the wherewithal to bribe the police, to bribe his way out of court and all of that, and there are no consequences for his action, he will go to the next child to violate. Impunity. And that trend will surely continue. So it's about calling the attackers to order. It's about government having the consciousness, taking conscious steps to stop the attack on children, because the children are our future, and if we do not protect them, if we do not ensure their maximum security, many of these children will be radicalized. Many of these children will have violence ingrained in them, and subsequently they take it out on society. Well, and at the end of the day, many people that will be the victims of the backlash may not even be the people that perpetrated them. They may be innocent victims. We've seen it in Boko Haram. We've seen it in the Niger Delta militants.
And sadly, of course, from what you just said, from what we've heard and seen, some have, if not many, have been radicalized, really, because you have accounts of some children rescued, either as members or as victims, saying that some children, many children actually joined Boko Haram due to financial incentives, peer pressure, familial ties, and even ideological reasons. And would you now say that it's even the fault of these children in the first place? Because they're not even victims
Boko
of the society.
To a very large extent, is a fallout of the negligence of the young people, the children in the northern states. The people that have held power from the north have not really utilized it to empower the broader number of the population, especially the children. And so these children, when you are not illiterate and someone tells you that if you kill 100 people, you are going to heaven with 72 virgins waiting for you, you have no alternative view. You've not been sent to school to have a broader knowledge, a broader alternative. And so you just go ahead and do it. So this negligence, poverty, and illiteracy, Boko Haram is a direct fallout of some of these factors. And until we are able and ready as a government to address these things, we're going to continue.
So in essence, you're saying that Boko Haram is capitalizing on the inaction or ineptitude of some governments.
Fundamentalism feeds directly on ignorance, on illiteracy, and we really have to do something about it. And then also talking about violence against children, I said earlier that we are not a child-friendly country. We've been having this campaign on corporal punishment. Children, parents, instead of disciplining their own children, hands over their responsibility, delegate to the teachers. And many teachers are frustrated. Some have not been paid for 10 months. And so classroom that's supposed to be learning environment, convenient, child-friendly environment, have been turned into torture chambers. Nigeria currently has the highest number of out-of-school children. So you would expect that classrooms should be welcoming. Now classrooms have been turned to torture chambers. Only just last week, the news of a school in Ogun State that had crucified, so to say, students. I mean, they shouldn't be coming from Nigeria. And so when news gets into the international scene all the time, that has to do with the horrible treatment, the horrible way in which we treat our children, the horrible way in which girls are adopted by Boko Haram, and little or nothing is done about it, the horrible way in which parents themselves treat their own children, it goes to show that we are not a child-friendly nation. And Mandela would say that the way we treat children goes to define the soul of a nation. And so we really have a lot to do if we are to set our future straight.
All right, this is reminiscent of what happened with the Chibok schoolgirls, and we are still crying for their return. And then we have not finished the, crying for the return of the Chibok, and then we are at Chibok girls, and then we had also the problem of the Dapchi girls, and one of them, Leah Sharibo,
is still in
captivity. You know, even celebrating her birthday,
15th birthday recently
in captivity. Does it show that we learn as a nation in terms of protecting, our wards?
I think the answer should go right back to the government again, especially the military agencies. Right now, we're supposed to be, schools in the Northeast especially, are supposed to be beneficiaries of the Safer School initiatives, about 700 schools or so. So how is it possible that these same schools are supposed to be under protection from this same fund, from this same initiative, are the ones that Boko Haram will go and effortlessly adopt over 100 girls? So something went wrong. And you know, when that happened, there were a lot of accusations that the military men were moved from their post. They had a higher order. Nothing came out of it. So if we are serious as a nation, the Dapchi girl kidnapped, the recent one. So if we are serious as a nation, there should have been some probe. But everything died once some of these girls, most of the girls were brought back.
Consequences as well.
And no consequences. Who were the people that gave the order for the withdrawal of the troops? How was Boko Haram able to go in, abduct the girls, come back into the community? How safe is even the entire region if this could happen?
And you remember as well, there was a trading of words between the police authorities and the military authorities as to, look, police said, look, we have left there, and then the police also said, look, you didn't leave this place in our care, and all of that. So the onus
was on the government to probe what exactly went wrong, and they have all the resources to ensure that the truth comes out, but they decided not to do. So the government, I think, the government knows best why it kept quiet on that. And as long as government is not ready to probe, to ensure that people are safe, to ensure that people are confident, to ensure that children, especially who again are weakest links, are safe and confident that their powers protecting their interests.
And to ensure that there is consequence for wrongdoings as well.
I think that this
dereliction of duty.
This trend will continue. And for all intents and purposes, the primary purpose of government will continue to be the protection of lives. Security. So as long the security of lives and the welfare and security of life. So as long as government is not ready to continue to be responsible for lives, as long as these things continue to happen, as long as children do not feel safe, then we cannot even say that we are safe, that we have a future we are looking up to, so especially because the children are the future of this country.
Yeah, absolutely. What should be the government be doing, really? Because we have children in many IDP camps. Some have been made to go through what adults should go through. Some have been raped, even in the hands of Boko Haram. Some are going through a lot in IDP camps as well. Some boys have been done to child soldiers or even child terrorists?
I think the government
what
should
kind
have,
of program should
the government should have
have?
conscious child protection policy and ensure that it is not just doing it because it wants to look good in the eyes of the world, but that it is sincere.
So it boils down to political will.
Yes. So I think, okay, look at what happened recently. Amnesty International was about releasing a report about the rape of women and girls in the camps, and this includes children, teenagers, who had been raped by the security operatives, especially the army. Even before the report came out, government came out with a refuter. The report hadn't even come out, but government was ready with a denial on behalf of the people who did it. So how are we going to be sure that we will get to the root of the issue? It means this, in a way, this embodies the perpetrators to continue because they always have government backing. And it's so ironic that the government that's supposed to protect the vulnerable are now siding with the perpetrators. So it's so sad. It's a sad statement. And I think we should sit back as a nation and really protect our children, because if the news that gets out of Nigeria most of the time are about the horrible treatment of children, we should be ashamed as a nation. We really need to be ashamed as a nation.
We have the Convention on the Rights of, you know, a Child, and of course the African Charter on Right and Welfare of the Child that was adopted in 1990. Does it seem that we have been able to key into that charter that we adopted since 1990?
Of course not. I just gave the instance of capital punishment, like a corporal punishment in schools. It's one of the stipulations of that rights of the child, as stipulated by United Nations, is that you should not inflict any form of physical violence on children. And yet we go behind to legalize beating of children in school. You saw what happened in Nasarawa State the other time. The state government had to, in a very commendable way, abolish corporal punishment in schools. So most of these things, we sign it to look good in the eyes of the world. We are not ready. We do not have the political sincerity to ensure that these things are implemented, that they are enforced. It's just to look good. And right now, I'm sorry to say, we have a government that is just
it's one thing to make law, it's another to implement it.
I mean, to look good in the eyes of the world, rather than ensuring that the right thing is done, and that people are protected, especially the most vulnerable.
All right, thank you.
All right, child rights activists, we thank you very much indeed for coming to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All right. Right. We're taking a break at the moment.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll take a break at the moment, and when we come back, the breakfast show continues. Stay with us. We are going to be talking about the 2018 appropriation bill. Stay with us.